think that's what it is. Like, I want to make sure I get it just right, but then also at the same time, it's going to flow organic, and then however it comes out is how it comes out.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Are you
I'm
really?
doing good, feeling good. Yeah, of course.
You came in here with the fedora on me.
Yeah, because my hair up under, if I were to take this off, listen, it'd be crazy.
I feel crusty.
Crusty. Jamel, you're not crusty.
Okay, I'm not crusty, man. Well, actually, no, I'm not crusty.
No, you're not.
I'm not crusty.
Say it with me. I am not crusty.
I am not crusty. Whatever, man. Yo, shout out to my sponsor at Defy the Odds brand. I'm telling you, I'll have the link in here, man. They got some dope gear. Shout out to my man Chino over there for holding me down.
I love it.
How is your week?
My week is starting off pretty good. Sundays are usually prep days for me. Get some rest, some much needed rest, so that I can start the week and be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you actually rest, like go to sleep, or are you like just relaxing?
Sometimes both. Like yesterday was a nice 2-hour nap.
I ain't getting no nap.
Why not? You gotta recharge.
I needed a nap. Did I get a nap? No, I had got like a 30-minute nap, but I needed like a 2-hour nap.
Yeah, the 2 hour. I don't know. I probably needed the 30-minute because then I got up and I ain't want to do nothing else after that.
Do you think women sleep more than men?
Maybe we do, but maybe our bodies need more
because it seems
rest.
like most guys be like, nah, they want to go, they want to go, they don't.
I think it's a mental thing. I think men think they're lazy if they take a nap.
Yeah.
It's like y'all always want to be on goal when sometimes a nap is necessary. It's okay to nap.
Yeah, I got to tell myself like, yo, we laying down today.
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep. I'm laying it down like.
But when you lay down, is your mind still consistently going as you lay down?
That's the thing. I can't just lay down if I'm not tired.
Gotcha.
Like I got to be tired and then lay down so I can go to sleep.
Gotcha.
And then sometimes I really got to like force myself like, you know what, we're laying down. We're going to go to sleep. We're going to close our eyes, put on some meditation music, and just drift off.
Yeah.
Because there are times I'm laying there and I'm like, man, like, oh, snap. I need to do this. I need to do that.
Yeah.
But really, I don't need to do nothing. I need to rest.
You need to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My girl always getting on me, too. She's like, Jamel, well, we're not going to get into all of that. She's an amazing woman. Let me just say that.
She's right. Whatever she said, it was right.
It's right.
It's right.
And I'm taking heed. I'm learning to take heed.
Good.
To everything. Welcome to the Value Podcast, where valuable people attract people of value. I'm Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on preparing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. This is the #1 podcast for relationships in the world. If you guys are listening and if you guys are watching, I'm telling you, there's always tools being deposited to help you have healthy relationships. Today, I have Lashunna. She was actually on the other podcast. You guys probably haven't seen it yet. But we want to talk about choices.
Okay.
Choices. Almost like we were talking about choices now. Like you have a choice to rest or not rest.
Which is a really good one.
If you choose not to rest, then your body will let you know that you need to rest.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So let's just do this. What choices have you made? Yeah, I'm going there.
We just going to dive head first. Okay, let's do it.
Dive head first.
All right, let's do it.
What choices have you made that, because I know when we talk about choices, ultimately, most people, choices, decisions, we hop into, yeah, and I made this decision and I came out on the mountaintop. I want to talk about the valley before we go to the mountain.
Okay.
What's one of the choices you believe that you made that puts you in an area of, what should I say? Maybe darkness or down in the valley. And you like, dang, why did I do that?
I think choosing to sleep on myself and my gifts. I think so many times we deal with a lot of internal, like negative self-talk, and it may not look like, oh, you're not good enough. It may look like, will people see the value in it? So I think that there has been a time in my life where I was really sleeping on myself. Like I had gifts. I have a gift of speaking. I have a gift of healing people and things like that. And people would tell me that, but at the same time, I would be going through so much internal turmoil on, if I put this gift out here, how will it be received? If I put this gift out here, what if nobody, you know what I'm saying, connects with it? I think for me, it hasn't always necessarily just been, is this decision right or wrong? But sometimes I've been stuck in the middle and it caused a level of decision paralysis, right? So sometimes decisions aren't about necessarily right and wrong, but making the right decision at the right time. And I think not making the right decision in its right timing has landed me in the valley.
Well, hold on a second, man. You don't believe there's wrong decisions?
I do believe there's wrong decisions.
Okay.
However, I think many times we know the right decision to make, but we don't make it in the right time, fearing that we're going to make the wrong decision, if that makes sense.
Explain to me a little more. Because I've made some wrong decisions that I can sit back and look back and say, that was the wrong decision. Now, I probably knew the right decision to make, but I didn't make that decision. I chose another choice. And that choice was not a good choice. Now, here's the thing. When I chose the choice, I knew it wasn't a good choice.
So why would you choose the wrong choice, though?
Because it was comfortable. It's a case in point.
But is the wrong choice really comfortable? I guess it could be.
I'm going to paint the picture.
All right, paint the picture for me.
Years ago, years ago, when I was out in the streets, there was choices that I was making. Now, maybe my mind wasn't in the right condition to maybe evaluate no, it was in the right condition. Let me not make an excuse. We out there, we chilling, and I know that if I sell these drugs, that's a choice.
Okay.
That what comes with that is crime. What comes with that is jail time, potential death. So I chose to do it. Right? Okay. Now, I chose to do it because it gave me what I deemed a comfortable lifestyle. I didn't have to go to some job and clock in and work. That was the right choice. Okay. The wrong choice was to choose to get the pack and hit the block.
Okay.
Because that made it comfortable. I get to get up, do what I want to do, hang out with the fellas. Yo, we out here, we chilling, you know what I mean? Let me go buy these kicks. I want to buy these kicks. I'm going to buy these kicks, you know what I mean? Yeah. I ain't got to report to no boss. I'm my boss.
Yeah.
Not a good choice, though.
Right. And I think in a sense it was comfortable, but in a sense it was uncomfortable at the same time. Because you have to live with such a level of looking over your shoulder, wondering if I'm going to get caught. So did you make the wrong decision because you didn't count the cost of the decision?
I think in that particular time, it's like the mindset. Like
it was just about the money.
The mindset was, okay, we counting the cost. I knew what came with it. Mm-hmm. So once you knew what came with it, it was like, okay, this is it. Mm-hmm. What comes with it. Let's go. Mm-hmm. So now it's not even it's just, this is just what it is.
Mm-hmm. And so what was the valley moment in that?
Yeah, it did come with a lot of valley moments because there were a lot of times where it was lonely, where it was, it led to, maybe using certain drugs to try to cope with the valley.
Wait. Jamel, you was using drugs? Listen, let me sit up for this one.
I made choices. We're talking about choices.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I use drugs. Mm-hmm. I was is this a testimony podcast?
I think
Are you turning my podcast into a testimony? Are we turning this into a testimony podcast?
I mean, I'm interested because a lot of people could probably see you selling drugs. Yeah. But going from selling to using or simultaneously doing both is very interesting to me. Because now you're using something that's not good for you to cope with the decision that you made that you felt made you comfortable.
Yeah. That world is a dark world. When you make a choice or a decision to be involved in the hustle game or the street game, whatever department that you choose to be in on the streets, because everybody's choosing different things. Some people are robbing, some people are hustling, some people are doing pimping, people are doing just all types of things. They may be women prostituting, whatever choice you chose to make at that time. And yes, it does get dark. So to cope with it, some of the coping mechanisms, some people did different things. Mine was Hennessy bottle or E&J or excessively. You know what I mean? Like to this point that I wanted to numb the feeling of what I was in. You know, because we're here now. It was like we're in it, so it's like, all right, I'm in it, and I chose this, so here it is. You know, and it wasn't like I had to do it. The environment created it, and it was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And so yeah, there were various drugs that I tapped into. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I
feel like this became a testimony podcast. But you know, before you say anything, choices actually create testimonies.
They do.
That eventually set others free.
Absolutely.
But what were you going to say?
When you said the reason why you did those things was because the environment created it, it makes me think of it's important to get yourself in the right environments so that can, in a way, help you to make better choices. Because our environments sometimes do dictate what choices we make.
Go ahead. I'm pulling something up while you're saying that. Go ahead.
Because I think it has been the hardest for me to make decisions when I was in environments where everything around me said no, and I had to say yes. It made it so difficult. But a lot of times we're in environments that sometimes, number one, dictate the decisions and the choices that we make, or has a great deal to do with the decisions that we make. So it's like super important to get yourself in environments with people who make the right decisions. Because if you're around people who make the wrong decisions, a lot of times nobody wants to go right when everybody else is going left. So I think that's important also.
Wow. You know, I'm thinking about this this verse, and I want to use it. You know, it's in Romans 7 where Paul is struggling with this sin that's going on in him, and he says, and I know that nothing good lives in me. That is my sinful nature. I want to do what is right, but I can't. I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway. But if I do what I don't want to do, I'm not really the one doing wrong. It's the sin living in me that does it. So I believe at that point, it's like, I want to do right, but I'm doing it's over here. And then when I want to do, you know, it's this mind battle, and really the choices start in the mind.
Yeah,
it's this mental battle that's going on, and the environment that I was in, it's like there was a mental battle. Like, okay, I want to do right, but I want to go over. Look how they living, or look at they having fun, and it looks like fun. And so, okay, I'm gonna choose that route. And then once I get in it, it's like, man, I don't want to be here, but I'm here. So it's just like this battle going on. And then I just continue with what I'm already in. And I'm like, now at that particular time, I wasn't too much acquainted with, you know, biblical verses and scriptures and what sin really was and all of that. And, you know, my mom was an amazing woman, praying woman, you know, stand-up woman, told me about God. But at that time, I still had to go outside and still had to live and make choices as a teenager. You know, I made the choice, you know, and so those choices got me to where I was at. You know, eventually I didn't serve jail time as long as some of my friends did, or prison terms. You know what I mean? I went to jail for a few months and got out and then got locked up again. Choices again. Yeah. These were choices that I was making, you know? So, yeah.
I mean, but at what point were you like, I can't make this choice anymore? Because I think a lot of times we make decisions and choices a destination. Like once you make the wrong choice, that's it, right?
Yeah.
But at what point do you say like, yo, I've been making a wrong decision. This is not working, and I need to start to make the right choice. Like, how does somebody do that when they've made wrong choices all their lives? Because again, environment, I'm not saying there's an excuse for people making the wrong choice, but sometimes there's a cause and effect from your life. If you never experienced or seen what right choices look like, you will find yourself in a cycle of making the wrong decisions. But how do we teach people how to step out and say, okay, let me evaluate the decisions I've made. They've landed me in this place. I'm in the valley. How do I get out of the valley at this point?
Well, with me, the valley was at a point I didn't care. I knew I was in the valley. I knew I was in I knew we was in the streets. I knew this is what was coming. I knew this is what, I just didn't care. My heart had become numb to the point it was like, this is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? The world is screwed up. So what? Who cares? Let's go. You know? And at the same time, there was a God that I was not acquainted with that I knew was tugging on my heart. Like, you know, because I believe innately we all have that voice that's like, yo, that's not right. You know? And I didn't like that. So to what should I say? To muffle that voice, I was like, you know what? Yo, let me hit that. Like, yo, let me get another shot. Like, yo, no, roll it. No, put it all in there.
Yeah.
Mix it all together.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hear this. And I used to tell when I'm with my dudes, yo, y'all don't hear that? They was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can hear it. Like, yo, I want to numb it till I can't hear it because it's messing up my day.
Yeah.
Although the voice was trying to make my day better, I'm looking at it like, you messing up my day. Like, I can't be out here doing this, and I'm hearing, don't do that. And I'm hearing it loud, like, don't do that. Why are you doing that? You know, you should come. Why don't you come back to the service? Remember that service you came to, your mom took you to? Don't you want to come back? I'm like, yeah, I want to come back. This battle going on in my mind again.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I became comfortable with the valley. I love the valley. I chose the valley. I enjoyed the company of the devil. You know what I mean? In that time frame. And that's really what it is. I mean, whether people believe it or not, some people don't believe in the devil, but no, it's the devil. Their spirit is driving you to this. And you know what I mean? At a certain point, it's like, yo, this is what it is. Like, yo, all right, I'm in the company of the devil. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, he's making it very enticing. You want to choose this right here? You don't need to do that. You know, take this right here, choose this lifestyle right here, whether it was a woman or a drug or a light, whatever it was, choose this right here. And it looks good. So I choose or we choose. And I believe sometimes we spend time in the valley longer than we have to.
I agree.
Based on decisions or choices we made. Right. Now, I don't believe it makes you a bad person. At that time, I didn't believe I was a bad person. I thought I was still good because after, some of the choices I did, I felt like, you know what, I didn't hurt nobody. Well, no, I did.
But you did.
I did hurt people.
Yeah.
I did hurt. Now, when y'all watching this, don't say I didn't go out there and hurt people like that. I mean, but yeah, ultimately my choices did impact people that are around me. Yeah. We turned this into the testimony podcast. We talk about choices.
Yeah, we're talking about choices.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So those choices, I'm glad we're talking about this because I want to, before we address choices that people are making, these are choices that I made. And then ultimately I had to have a paradigm shift to start choosing right or choosing wise, because I think there's a difference between right and wise. So I had to start making wise decisions. Of course, eventually I had a son. Even when I had my son, I still was making poor decisions. So some people would say, oh, my baby came into my life and I started making all the right decisions. No, it didn't happen for me.
Right.
Because here, here's the word that just came to me, stronghold. And I know you're going to be able to address that. There was a stronghold. Choices that I made created a stronghold on my life. My friend, one of my mentors used to say, if the enemy gets a toehold, then he can get a foothold. And then he got the door open, he can get a stronghold. So there was a stronghold on my life. And the only thing that I believe that was able to destroy that or break that or set me free from that mentally, emotionally, spiritually, was the love of God. Was me accepting God truly in my life. Was me accepting fully like, yo, Jesus, I really need you. I hear people talking about you, but I ain't choosing you. Now, that's the thing. The offer was made to me. Like, hey, people used to come along. You're like, hey, man, you need God in your life. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm cool. I hear what you're talking about. And the voice in my head would be like, come on, take me. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. I hear you. You know what I'm saying? So the stronghold. And really, let's stay right there. Okay. Because we're going to talk about how to get free. But I want to address how people get bound. We make choices. We make decisions. And those decisions can ultimately have us bound or a stronghold on our life, and it's like, I don't want to be talking about it like it's just easy just to get loose. Oh, you just break free, just do the right thing. This is not a motivational just do this right here 10 times a day and you're going to be broken. The stronghold is coming off you. Nah, bro, because I was on it. I was stronghold for years, bound for years from choices that I made. Mm-hmm. So
when I think about what you were saying, this is your testimony. Mine is a bit different because I accepted God very early on in my life. And I think that probably saved my life, right? So even talking about strongholds, I had a sense that I looked at my family and I saw a lot of strongholds, right? And I knew that I didn't want to be bound by these things.
How old were you?
I was, when I first, you do the whole confess Jesus at 9.
But see, here's the thing. I was young and I did that. But the thing is that didn't stop the stronghold or the bondage from coming after me.
Right. So you accepted him, right?
Yeah.
Was there anyone who was educating you at a level, even being younger, about strongholds, about generational cycles?
Now, I had my grandmother and my mom, of course, educated me on, the belief system, God and everything. Mm-hmm. But at a young age, I was very inquisitive. So, and then also my dad was, schooling me on things that he believed in terms of like Black power and how important the Black man was through Islamic beliefs that he had, Mm-hmm. So even balancing that out, but still, I think what it was for me is being on the block and seeing what I was seeing and hearing from my mom and hearing from my dad and hearing from my grandma. At the same time, my mind was just like, once again, that mental battle. Mm-hmm. Where I was inquisitive enough to hear God and know this nudging, like, okay, this must be God. But at the same time, I'm like, but I'm really feeling what they're doing over here. Mm-hmm. And then I want to try this. And so my choice was to try it. And once I tried it, then I was like, I kind of like this. Mm-hmm. Kind of like this lifestyle. I like the God stuff too. But this side was stronger at that time. Mm-hmm. So it got a hold of me. And then it was like, okay, I know this. I know what to do. But I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm. So when you started making those decisions, did your mother know you were making those decisions, or did you hide it from her?
We can be transparent on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Some of it I was hiding from her, but she's not a fool. Mothers are not fools.
Yeah,
she knew, like, bro, like, you know what I mean. And my mom would get on me. And then she would pray for me. There were times I was walking out the door, and I remember vividly. I'd be walking out the door, and she'll look at me, and she'd be like, Jamel, greater is he that is in you than he that is of the world. Move wise as a serpent, humble as a dove. And I'll be like, all right, cool.
Right.
Like, I kind of know what you're talking about. Really don't care too much right now. I'm about to go out here and get involved in some stuff right now. Love you. And then while I'm walking and jumping in the car, whatever the case may be, I would hear her voice echoing in my head like, oh my God, why did she have to tell me that? Like,
right.
Like, oh man.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, mine was a little bit different. I made a decision at 12 that there was just certain things that I was not going to do. I was not going to have a child before I got married, and I was not going to live with somebody before I got married. What I saw in my family, I knew, like, yo, I'm not doing that. I made a decision, like, whatever I do, that's 2 things I'm not doing, because I didn't want to put my child through things that I was going through based off of decisions that people before me made. So I was very cognizant of that. However, I realized that as I began to get older and become a teenager, I developed this, like, there's something that's going on. There are things that I'm battling with that I don't know why I'm battling with it, right? So when we talk about like strongholds, a lot of times it's not only just the decisions that we make, but decisions that people in our bloodline, in our family have made before us. So then we're beating ourselves up. Of course, yes, we have our own choice, but some of the fight and the internal struggle has nothing to do with our own choices.
I'm battling with decisions that my great
all the way back
whoever made.
Yes.
Now it's not a blame thing, but their decisions ultimately impacted the bloodline.
Exactly. And so those are things you
Wow.
have to dig into. Like a very practical thing is to just get a sheet of paper and identify very unhealthy patterns that you notice in your family. You know, curses, they are curses, they are cycles. It could even be like thought patterns, right? Write all those things down and then look at the decisions you've made in your life. Look at the things that you're dealing with. I guarantee you will be able to tie a lot of those things into your list. Guaranteed. I think about my father and I had these conversations now. And to him, he was like, this is just what we do, right? Like men in my family cheat. Like they can be married, but they cheat. Like you don't see faithful men. That's a cycle. That's not just, oh, they just want to go out here and, you know, be lustful or whatever the case may be. Yes, there is an affection there, but we need to trace back, where did this affection come from? And at first my dad was like, no, it's not, you know, it's not a generational curse. Like my dad was not on that like curse thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe cycle, but not a curse. But I said, let's trace it back. And we started tracing it back and we couldn't find one man that was actually faithful.
Wow.
So then that means that when it comes to relationships, that's a stronghold in my bloodline. So then I make my decisions based off of those things. What decision do I need to make to not get caught back into the cycle? It's not about me being perfect. It's not about me, you know, making sure I make all the right decisions, but also having the weight of knowing that the decisions that I make can literally change the pattern in my family, so that my nieces and nephews and the children that come, you know, after me, we can change the whole trajectory of our bloodline. However, we have to understand that is not easy, right? Like sometimes I'm asking God, like, why is this so hard? Why do I feel this weight every day? Like there have been some times where I'm like, I don't want to be the person to break the generational curses. Like if it's going to be like this, you can choose somebody else. But what God always reminds me of is that you cannot erase something that has been in your bloodline for generations and just think it's going to be easy. When you think about a stronghold, it's literally a fight. It's literally a struggle. And one of the ways that you break that is through making wise and righteous choices.
I like the way you painted the picture in terms of like writing down.
Yeah, it's practical.
Writing down the patterns. That's very practical. I'm actually going to apply that because I never did that.
Yeah.
To sit there and just write down patterns that I see. And I think what we need to be careful of is when we're writing it down, not to write it down and then view the patterns of the people as bad people.
Right.
Because sometimes with the choices that our ancestors made or our grandmothers, our grandfathers, or whoever made, they were making choices and decisions based on whatever they had.
Exactly. And based off their experiences. So then the second layer to that is to go to the generation right before you, which can be your parent. And then the generation before that, if they're still living, your grandparent. And start to create dialogue and say, why do you think you made this decision? Right? Because now you need to dig deeper to find the roots of it. So a stronghold isn't just lust, right? Let's just use that one.
Yeah.
Lust. It doesn't just start with, oh my God, I'm just lustful. What are the roots that are connected to that lust that has caused the people in your generation to make those decisions? So I sit down and have conversations with my mom and say, hey, Mom, why do you think you chose that person to date? Or why do you think you chose that person to have a kid by? What was that? Because that person had very unhealthy patterns and behaviors. What made you not identify it, right? And you start to see that a lot of times there's rejection, there's abandonment that's so interconnected to it. But in order to heal these things and to break these cycles, you got to get down to the root, because sometimes we can just be so focused on, okay, this person does this. Like this person is having a whole bunch of kids. They need to stop having kids. You know what I'm saying? They need to stop doing this. But why are they having all these kids? Right. You know what I'm saying? Start having those conversations. And it's not easy, but when you start to realize, like listening to my mom's story, it made me have so much grace for her because the decisions that she made was really interconnected with choices that her mother made. And then her mother made those choices because of choices that her parents made, and we're able to trace it back.
Wow, you know what? Even as you're saying that, I just thought about it, like those decisions that I was making, those choices that I was making. Once again, it doesn't make the people that I was viewing bad people.
Right.
They were doing the best with what they had.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe my coping mechanisms for whether it was drinking or whatever drug I used, or even going to the street life, because that was a choice. That was a coping mechanism. Enjoying being out there in the night and then in the day with the Mr. Friends, hanging out, doing what we were doing. I can recall viewing certain individuals in my family or even friends that I looked at, whether they were older or at my same age. That's what they did to cope. You know, so I was like, oh, that's how such and such is dealing with his anger or his pain or his frustration. I'm gonna try that.
Exactly.
And once I tried it, you know, then what happens is certain choices that you choose, when you receive it, whatever it is you chose, it can become an addiction.
Right.
Whether it be all the things that you painted out, it could be lust, it could be anger, it could be a phobia, it could be anxiety, whatever that thing is. That soon becomes an addiction, and that addiction turns into a stronghold.
Right. And so while you thought you were just making this decision because it was comfortable, it was actually an attack of the enemy, right? To go to your mind to say, I'm going to paint this as if it's comfortable. Because just like we have curses and unhealthy cycles, we have blessings in our bloodline. So like that hustle, that drive is something that's a blessing. The enemy already had an attack on you before you were formed in your mother's womb to say, because the enemy is very tactical and very strategic. So once you get a certain age, I'm going to distort the blessing, right? And make this look so good so that I can put you back into the perpetual generational cycle that's been in your family. So a lot of times, like, the enemy makes things look like really good, but it's because he wants to distort the blessing. Like, you're a blessing carrier in your family. You know, thank God that you were able to recognize and say, yo, this isn't working. Because God was always calling you, right? People always think that God only call you when you start going to church and all these things. No, God is literally saying, I believe that God sets solitaries in the family. And it talks about it in Psalms where God will raise up a solitary in a family to break certain things in the family. But if the enemy can get to you before you can realize and recognize that you're the solitary, he can literally sabotage it for another generation to come.
Another thing you said that having those conversations, like, I believe for some individuals that can be difficult in itself. To sit down with your mom or your dad or your uncle, whoever was your parental, whoever was over you at that time, a grandmother, and have a sobering conversation like, you know what? Hey, Dad, why'd you choose to do this? You know, because even as I'm thinking about it, like, eventually me and my dad will be on my podcast, but to have that conversation, it's like, are you ready for the answer?
Without his name,
are we ready? Are we ready for the answer? Instead of because some of us, we blame them. I'm like this because my dad. Or I'm like this because my grandfather.
And there is a level of accountability that your dad and your grandfather have to have, but you do have to do some healing first before you can go into the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. You know, but having that conversation, sobering conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, like you said, you had with your mom, or somebody may have with whoever. Like, hey, why did you give me away? That could be hard, but it's
hard. It's probably one of the hardest things you will ever do.
And that is, you know what's crazy? That's a decision.
It is.
That's a choice in itself. And I think even when you said that, it allowed me to even view humanity from an evangelical perspective differently. When we see people and we see them and we ultimately know they're probably where they are because of a decision, this is what we do. We judge the person based on the decision not realizing that we don't understand why they made it.
Exactly.
We don't understand why the woman may have all the kids, or why the man may be standing on the corner, or why the young guy's out there selling drugs. You don't know why. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but understand the why. Have you sat and talked with that person and pulled them to the side and said, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Understand the choice before judging the choice. I want to say that again. We need to understand the choice before judging the choice.
Absolutely.
Because I don't believe nobody wakes up intentionally, whatever age they are, and says, you know what? I want to do wrong every day. I want to make poor decisions my entire life. I want to be on this drug. I want to be in this type of relationship. I want to be in this type of community, whatever it is.
Absolutely. But I think this is also a charge for believers, because we say we want to win people to God, but we don't always have the temperament of God. And so when God looks at us, he doesn't just see us based off of our decisions. He sees us in totality. He knows the root. So when I'm dealing with people, I always ask God, what is the root of that? You know what I mean? Whether it's someone who can't communicate properly, someone who, is very irritable all the time and, kind of talk to you crazy. Like, yes, I'm going to still put you in your place and be like, hey, don't handle me in that way. But I'm going to always go on the back end and say, God, show me what the root of that is, because that's not really that person. And a lot of times there's a deeply rooted stronghold there. And what it does is it helps you to even know how to position yourself in prayer for people. So a lot of times you're praying for somebody like, God, let them just get out the bed with that person. Like, or God, help them to not be so angry, when there's so many layers to why they are the way they are. And maybe one of the reasons that you're not seeing manifestation to that prayer is because you're praying from the wrong posture, and you're not spiritually mature enough to see that you really need to go down to the root, because there's something in their bloodline, right? And also, one of the things that I've done is to trace, because see, choices, like you said before, it starts in the mind and then it filters to the mouth, right? And a lot of times we come into agreement through words with some of those cycles in our family, right? So one of the things that I've been working on in this season of my life is coming out of agreement with things that I've said maybe when I was hurt, right? So when I went through a breakup, right, I was hurt. Listen, I was hurt. Anybody out there who's going through a heartbreak, we are praying for you. But one of the things I said, I'm just going to be single. Like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm just going to be single. I'm not trying to talk to nobody. But guess what I did? I came in agreement with something that's a stronghold on my family. I'm just going to be single, because a lot of the women in my family, they're either single, never been married, or divorced. Not even just in unhealthy marriages. Single, never been married, or divorced. So guess what I did? I'm working so hard to make good choices to break that cycle, but then I came into agreement with it through the words that came out of my mouth. So not only do you have to make the decision not to do it, you have to make the decision not to say it either.
I always say, especially when it comes to these choices and decisions, like you're going back into family and generation, like we have to trace it, face it, then replace it.
Absolutely.
So trace where it's coming from. These are practical things. Okay, tracing, where did this pattern in my life come from? Why am I making these certain type of decisions and choices with relationships, or whether it's a job, or whether it's whatever it is, then face it, which I believe becomes one of those challenging things. Like I have to face, I traced it, I found it, and now I have to face what I found. And now that I got to face it, that takes a level of humility, whether it's facing a certain individual, like, you know what, I discovered that these choices that I'm making is coming from here. So I have to face this person, or face myself in the mirror, and then replace it. That becomes another challenge, because now I have to replace the thing that I've been doing, this pattern that I've been in with. And if it's been negative, I have to replace it with positive. And for people that are listening or watching, it's not always easy.
Oh, it's hard.
But it starts with a choice.
Yeah.
My thing is, even if you're listening and watching this, Start with take small steps. Whatever those steps may look like. Like you said, what was the thing you were saying? Like, writing it down.
Yeah.
Looking at those patterns, trace it, face it, and then begin to replace it. Once you get the face, okay, I know what it is. I found what it is. I have to replace this thing, whether it's poor eating, whatever that thing was, I have to replace it. And it's going to be a daily process of me. Daily. I'm dying to myself. I'm dying to this poor relationship. I'm dying to this pattern that was in my family daily.
Yes.
I'm trying to reestablish something new through a better choice. Wow.
Yeah. Daily. Yeah. It's hard. It's probably one of the most difficult things you can do, and it's not going to happen overnight. What I had to do was create a very safe space. Before I could have this dialogue, I had to create a safe space for my mom, a safe space for my grandmother to say, I'm not going to judge you for this, However, I'm going to show up it takes going to a very vulnerable place, even in your own life, to talk about how those choices greatly affected you. And now you're seeing some of those same behaviors in yourself. And so you want to trace it back, right? So one of the things I told my mother was, listen, we have to repair this. I want to repair, you want to repair it, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I've been identifying these things. So I'm going to bring the list to her and then maybe saying, hey, you pick out the ones that you see too, and it's a collaborative process. It's not just me sitting saying, all right, tell me about all the choices you made. It's about, let's bring this as a collaborative effort so we can both understand each other.
Listen, man, for those that are watching and listening, we're talking about choices, and that was so powerful right there. I'm taking notes in my head, man. Like, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
It's going to be challenging. Yeah. But I even believe as we close out this year going into a new year, people are going to be making choices.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to stay at this job, whether they're going to stay with that man or stay with that woman, or whether they're going to choose that woman or choose that man, or am I going to give up this habit or give up this, whatever that thing may be, give up this and pick up that. There's choices and decisions that are about to be made right now, because this is a transitional time right now. We're going into a new year. So if you guys are listening and watching, man, take heed, dig in, trace it, face it, replace it. We out of here, man. Peace.